I'd like to thank our listeners for joining us for another Saints Spotlight, and for today's edition, we're speaking with James Russell, who is a fixture at the Biology Field Station. James, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Could you tell us a little bit about your field of study?
I am a biology major, and my field of study is in marine biology, which is the study of marine organisms, their behaviors, as well as their interactions with their surrounding environments.
When did you know you were interested in biology and in science?
It all started as a senior in high school. My zoology teacher, Mr. Chapman, had told me about a STEM camp here at the station, as well as a Gemini program at Newport Aquarium, which was being run by the Wave Foundation. And when I went to STEM camp, Dr. Lorenz also told me about this Gemini program, and spoilers, there's going to be a lot more about Dr. Lorenz later. And so I was very much interested in this Gemini program because there are two people who were telling me, man, you would love this Gemini program. So then I attended the Gemini program at the Newport Aquarium, and I was completely blown away by the course. I saw all sorts of cool animals, and I met people like Scott Wingate, who became a huge influence for me in the field of biology. And so that was really what set the spark, and this flame was ignited in me to continue pursuing biology, especially marine biology.
Can you tell us a little bit about the roles that you've had at the field station?
It started sophomore year when a friend of mine, his name is Austin Marcus, he's a fellow student at Thomas More. He was doing stuff at the field station as a work study student, and he would tell me about his experiences taking care of the animals, and I felt like I needed some of that too. So I asked if I can join him, and Dr. Lorenz and Austin made some arrangements, and so later on that year, Dr. Lorenz granted me an internship at the field station where I was part of lab crew. Again, with animal husbandry, taking care of the animals for their own well-being and taking care of the life support systems, aka the tanks, as well as getting involved in outreach. So I had the opportunity to interact with the STEM campers, which I loved. And this summer, I returned to the field station because I was accepted an internship up in central Michigan with the Great Lakes through the National Science Foundation. But unfortunately, it was canceled due to COVID-19. And Dr. Lorenz granted me an opportunity to return to the field station as an independent researcher so I can do some independent research projects as well as doing a database project for the field station itself.
What a great experience you've had. So the independent research project that you're working on now, can you talk about that a little bit?
I'm actually involved in 3 projects. The first is a crayfish meal preference study where I compare the response of crayfish when they're exposed to both fish parts as well as chicken livers, which is interesting, seeing what they prefer. I'm also developing a environmental survey using eDNA to try and detect invasive carp in the river. But so far, what is probably my biggest project is a independent study project in which I'm under the supervision of Dr. Whitney, who is a senior scientist at New England Aquarium in residence at Newport Aquarium. So Dr. Whitney, along with another researcher named Wes Pratt, they go down to Florida in the dry tortugas to study the mating behaviors of nurse sharks. And this research project has been going on for more than 25 years.
Wow.
And they've collected more than 25 years worth of photos. So my task is to develop a database in close consultation with Dr. Whitney, which will allow us to analyze all the data, to organize all those photos with the use of a user-friendly interface, and to answer specific questions from the data collected from the shark populations over the span of 25 years.
Oh
and I was
gosh.
also expected to learn skills that would be important if I were to join them in Florida one day, such as snorkeling. So Dr. Snyder from Thomas More actually gave me lessons in snorkeling to help me gain those skills that are essential for field work. Fulfilling a lifelong dream of mine to actually work with sharks. That's always been something. As a child, I grew up with Shark Week, and actually having the opportunity, the privilege of actually doing research that's applicable on the field with sharks is just, I can't even describe how I feel about that.
What you're doing, the work you're doing, makes a huge difference for conservation and also in marine biology. It's great. Have you had any time to take part in other events or groups at Thomas More while you're doing your work in the STEM field?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I've been involved in a lot of stuff. And the Thomas More, for being a small school, there is actually a lot of things that you can do. First of all, I'm a member of Alpha Delta Gamma, and it's been such a huge part of my experience at Thomas More. I got to meet new people, interact with the alumni, and it provided good scholarship opportunities for me. I'm also a member of various clubs, such as the Marine Bio Club, obviously. I served as secretary last year, as well as the Biology Club, where I served as treasurer last year. And there are biological honor societies such as Tri Beta, as well as Delta Epsilon Sigma. I'm also a member of the Black Student Union. I was a member of the Knitting and Crochet Club. I was in SAB freshman year. I was even in the Rugby Club freshman year.
Wow.
Funny enough. I was a member of the choir for my first 3 semesters. And I also work 2 work-study jobs. My first is in athletic communications, where I've been the cameraman for the past 3 years, ever since freshman year. And recently, I've been a librarian up until, COVID-19 happened. Right. So I've made the time to be as involved as I can and experience new things in life.
Do you feel like what you've been doing at the field station with the aquarium, just with your overall experience, do you feel like it's helped to determine your path after graduation?
Absolutely. I would say that my journey through college was one where I sort of knew what I wanted to do even before I went to college, because of my experiences with the Gemini program and my experiences with Dr. Lorenz, Dr. Whitney, Dr. Snyder have sort of pushed me along that path that I already felt that I set myself on with the Gemini program.
Do you have any advice for students who are getting ready to start college at Thomas More?
Before I went to Thomas More, I've never played rugby. I never worked as a librarian. I never snorkeled, and I never even knew what a fraternity was. And all of those things were positive experiences for me, and I highly recommend new students coming in, if they have the opportunity to experience something new, just go ahead and do it. What's the worst that can happen? You don't like it, you can move on to something else. And the second thing that I'll say is to just talk to your professors. They're very good at giving you a head start in networking. And the reason why I'm doing nurse shark research right now was because one day I decided sophomore year, it was fall semester of sophomore year, I was curious as to, I don't know anyone who does any shark research. I'm just going to go in and ask Dr. Lorenz if he knew anybody. So I asked him, and he turned and looked at me and said, you know what? I think I may know somebody. And a year and a half later, here I am, and we have amazing professors here. I've never encountered a professor that refused to answer a question. So utilize them.
Well, James, thank you so much for being our Saint Spotlight today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.